Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. Folks, we got a great show lined up for you. First, we're going to give you a recap of yesterday's State of the Union address given by President Joe Biden. We got a couple of things that we need to point out from this message, the big takeaways. We're going to be checking in with the culture crew to get their thoughts about everything from funding the police to voting rights. There's a lot to cover, so we'll discuss it. Also, let's talk about how the Republicans have planned to ban another hair bill discrimination. Man, oh man, they just can't let us live. And of course, we're going to be talking about Girl Scout cookies, how Girl Scouts are now being berated for simply selling cookies. I'm going to give you the details on that story. So, all of that and a whole lot more on today's edition of The Culture, right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. Welcome to the show, folks. Oh my goodness, so much to cover. First and foremost, let me just say this. I didn't get a chance to say it yesterday, so I'm going to say it today. We've been on the air for 30 days. Yes. Had a little technical difficulty, had some tripping up things, but I think we are in a very, very good place. So I just wanted to say at the very beginning of the show today, thank you for all of you for tuning in. I know many of you have questions about what the culture is going to be about, who's going to be on there, what type of conversations they're going to have, all of those things. But folks, we've been on the air for 30 days since February the 1st, the first day of Black History Month, and Black Star Network is rocking and rolling. And I'm just so happy to be a part of the lineup here on Black Star Network with Dr. Jackie and my big brother, Dr. Carr. And also we have, who else we got? We got Deborah. All of us just continue to make this thing work. But again, thank you for the great support that you have given to the culture over these past 30 days. This is a big, big milestone for us. So we thank you so much for tuning in each and every day, checking it out, being patient with us. But we are in a very, very good place, and we're looking to make history here on the Black Star Network and for all digital programming. So thank you. All right, folks. Now, today I wanted to talk about the State of the Union. Of course, this is the yearly address that's given by the president. And to give us an update about where we are, what is the state of the Union of the United States of America? Yesterday, President Joe Biden gave his ideas, his vision for where America is. Of course, talking about everything from Ukraine, the Russian-Ukraine war, talking about inflation and the economy, looking at how we can build back America better. And of course, talking about the historic Supreme Court nomination, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. But he also threw in a couple of other things that we're going to be discussing. He talked about voting rights. Just for a smidget, he talked about voting rights. Okay. He also discussed, or at least mentioned, funding the police. Wow. So we're going to get into all of that. But the big story, of course, is coming out of the United Nations, where the United Nations has moved forward on making sure that they are voicing their discontent with the country of Russia, looking at how this whole situation continues to play out. If you have not been keeping up to date, folks, Russia is slowly moving in on the capital of Ukraine, Kyiv. And there was a lot of talk about this 40-mile convoy that the Russian troops were walking. Well, that has been shortened down to about 15 to 20 miles outside of the capital themselves. But the Russian army is not stopping, even though there have been a number of innocent civilians that have lost their lives as a result of the attack on the country. Closer to the capital and some of the big cities of the capital, Russia is still moving forward. And that high alert that President Putin had put his team on, that hasn't gone down, folks. That has not gone down at all. As a matter of fact, it's still in place. But President Biden said yesterday that they are not going to, he doesn't plan to put any boots on the ground. It's for him, it's an economic game. It's about making sure that he lets Russia know that as much as you want to destroy buildings, we will destroy your economy. I want to pull up a couple of things here that I think that we need to kind of look at as it relates to this situation. But as I mentioned, the United Nations have come out and have approved a resolution demanding that Russia end the invasion of Ukraine. Now, there have been a number of countries that have signed on to this situation, folks. The vote came after a series of speeches during which the majority of the country called on Russia to end the violence. According to the Ukrainian ambassador, to the UN, he urged countries to vote in favor of the resolution in an emotional address that ended with applause from the chamber. Now, how many countries are we talking about? Ultimately, the resolution passed overwhelmingly by a vote of 141 to 5, with 35 abstentions. The 5 countries that voted against it, well, obviously, were Russia, Belarus, Syria, North Korea, and Eritrea. The 35 countries that stood on the sidelines, those 35 countries, and if you look at the history of foreign policy in the foreign affairs, relationships play a huge role in this whole process. Relationship that Russia has with other countries. We've been talking about it with Dr. Gerald Horn. Relationships with China, relationships with Syria. A lot of countries have decided not to move forward, but that did not stop the resolution from being passed. And so the UN is putting its foot down and saying enough is enough. Now, the big question is, will Russia listen? Will Russia listen? I want to bring in Culture Crew member Rashad Staten, who is going to just to give us his insight about this. And I'm going to break it down some more, what other things that the president talked about in his State of the Union address. But let's bring Rashad in. Rashad, thank you so much, dear brother. How are you today?
I'm blessed and favored, brother. Thanks for asking. I'm wishing the same for you and yours.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, brother. We are all good on this side. Rashad,
Talk
this
to me,
State of the
Farajii.
Union, first and foremost, the State of the Union, it went through a couple of iterations. Of course, the Russian-Ukraine war was not a part of the agenda for the State of the Union, since the president and his cabinet have been planning to give this speech late last year, but it now is a part of it. Some people said that it was sort of like, you could tell it was like pieced together. He had a one message for Russia dealing with the Russian-Ukraine war, and then he had another message to deal with the issues and challenges facing Americans. But do you feel like that the president really speaks to or spoke to the interest and to the needs of the American people, first starting with this Russian-Ukraine conflict?
Yeah, I want to step back one and just like you said, honor the fact that we just finished up Black History Month, but history in itself is always celebrated around Black Excellence 365. And just to attach to that to what we just saw yesterday is the idea of, the State of the Unions themselves weren't initially historically started with an idea of speaking to the American people that we want to honor, our great sister there. Which is the Black woman? What is her name? Mississippi Freedom Rider. Oh wow. What's her name? Not no. Okay. Nonetheless, like when we started the State of the Union, the sister there spoke of the historical analysis of what was happening down in Mississippi and down the South, and then President at that time took to the national stage to take her voice away by switching over to a State of the Union. And I think the same thing happened again yesterday with the emergence and the timeliness of the Russian Ukrainian conflict in itself, that President Biden had to adjust, right? That was not initially the onset of what the State of the Union was, but he had to address the people in itself. I don't think, from my personal stance, and I'm only going to speak of my proximity, I think that he didn't really speak to us as constituents and citizens of this world, of the United States, but he provided clarity of what our actual angle possibly would be, and that is to not put soldiers on the ground, but to try to impose some economic sanctions that will stifle the economic progression of Russia themselves as being a
Hmm.
powerhouse in the global economics and foreign policy. So that one in itself, him making that clear stance of what the direction of the United States and their role would be, I want to say ease my spirits just a little bit, knowing that we would not be putting, more likely at this current moment, putting bodies and spirits on the front lines to possibly, lose their lives, but us
Yeah.
using our economic power and our stance in this country, to force some type of moral obligation on those that are imposing on people's democracy, sovereignty, and livelihood. I think that's a great stance that America ourselves can take, right? And I think it provides a space of us as Americans to become more economically astute and how we use our tax dollars and what our tax dollars are actually being used in a global exchange around policy, democracy, sovereignty, and things of that sort. So I
Yeah.
think I like the idea that President Biden actually provided more clarity in that, and that we don't have to look forward immediately of an actual war and war infringements and us actually bombings or using our military to impose some type of military sanctions on them, but we'll be using our money and using our money to uphold some type of moral standards as a global power.
Absolutely. And speaking of money, leaders around the world are saying that this conflict in the Ukraine is creating a humanitarian crisis. The
Hmm.
UN, for example, has already estimated that the initial humanitarian and refugee needs will cost. Check this out, brother Rashad. $1.7 billion. I'm speaking of with the B, folks. Billion. The UN Secretary General Antonio Gutierrez said that humanitarian agencies need 1.1 billion to fund emergency relief within Ukraine for the next 3 months. He also requested another 551 million to help pay for services for Ukrainians fleeing the country, especially in Poland, Hungary, Romania, and Moldova. 1.7 billion dollars. The UN Secretary General said that the money would help people access health supplies, safe drinking water, shelter, and protection. There's already an estimated 650,000 people who have fled Ukraine and entered the European Union countries since Russia invaded last week. Um, that is a lot of money, and if things continue to happen, which I foresee is happening. It doesn't look like President Putin has retreated, even though this resolution has come out from the United Nations. Nothing really has changed on his mind. I think he's dead set on moving into the capital and destroying whatever he needs to destroy to get his point across that he's going to take over this part of the world.
Yeah.
Um, what's your take on that?
I think our ambassadors and the different ambassadors representing the different countries across the UN and himself said it, that this is a one man's war, right? He has a sternness and a stubbornness that he wants to do what he wants to do, and at that point, the unintentional and intentional consequences will be based off of his own dictator or tyrannical leadership that he wants to impose and take away the sovereignty and the democratic, structures of Ukrainians, right? And to see the cost analysis of trying to bring some type of humanitarian needs and supports at 1.7 billion when you're looking at monetary costs of military and war in itself, that's pennies to a dollar, right?
Yeah,
It sounds like a lot, but when we talking about this level of military and foreign policy relations, that's usually around a normal ballpark. So I think it's one. I'm curious to see how this money is actually going to be beneficial to all persons across this humanitarian and this color line, right? That we see that everyone has been displaced, everyone or already has been directly impacted, to the American economy within the last 2 weeks, to now the Ukrainian people themselves, but also Is this money going to actually help with the humanitarian needs of Africans that are in Ukraine? Right, we're
Yep,
starting to see an emergence of videos and things of that sort that's saying that a lot of us Africans that are in these European Union countries, but also specifically are in Ukraine, are not getting the same supports, the same needs, and that we are seeing racism again rear its ugly head. Right. So then
absolutely.
where's the accountability to earmark, okay, this amount of money is going to go to the darker hue people that's being impacted globally around this issue. And that's where my heart and my passion and my mind is looking towards. How do we look at the I's and cross the T's of that dollar amount and see that it's going to correlate to all persons, white, black, brown, yellow, green, blue, and whatever else that we show up as.
And we're going to continue to have that conversation, especially about our African brothers and sisters, those students who are, who have come from Nigeria and other parts of the continent. We'll have those conversations today, tomorrow. I want to personally make sure that people understand the context of why it's important for us to not just talk about what's happening in the Ukraine affecting Europeans, but then, like you said, the African student population, Indians who are coming
Hmm.
from who have gone to school in Ukraine as well. I mean, I was reading yesterday, Rashad, that Nigeria, the leadership, the political leadership in Nigeria was saying that there were about 16,000 of their students that are in Ukraine for study, from everything. And they're studying everything from medicine to engineering to science.
Hmm.
So they're adding to they're going to be coming out of these universities and these schools adding to society. And the big reason why they decided to go to the Ukraine to go to school versus coming to the United States is because of cost,
Right.
that is associated with schools there. So, I mean, we definitely need to have that part of the conversation, which I think is hugely important. But then when you look at how this whole situation continues to evolve, when
Right.
we are talking about that money cost, when you're talking about the number of troops, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the video of that 40-mile convoy. I mean, it looks like something from a movie. And it looks like the show of force that Russia is putting on this country. It will. I'm concerned, Rashad, and I've been saying this since this whole scenario got started. I'm concerned that the strong show of force that Russia is exemplifying is going to compel the United States to get involved
Yeah.
militarily.
I agree. I agree. They're taking
I
a
mean,
firm stance.
President Biden has kept on saying that this is Putin's war. He said it yesterday. He's been saying it. This is Putin's war. This was his choice. This was his decision. And so for me, I feel like it's about to get personal. It's about to get personal. You have all these economic sanctions. You got the UN who are put out this resolution. The president has said that he's not going to stand for certain things. He's not willing to talk to Putin at this point. I mean, I feel like it's just drawing us in.
Yeah, I think it's a powder keg waiting to explode, unfortunately. And Putin is definitely taking his firm stance and showing his military power through visible representation, which is definitely a agitational approach to it, right? Trying to prompt these other military powerhouses globally to take a side on which table they're going to take. And even as we see in the UN and the resolution, those that were in favor versus those that were opposed, it's not like you said in the beginning of the show, it's not surprising because we see how certain countries in themselves have a interwoven relationship economically, and as well as how they are doing work in their natural resources and how that impose, the daily operations of their country, their people, and what they pride themselves in the different structures of governmental institutions there. But also those that have shown them their absenteeism in the resolutions themselves is that gray area. Where would they stand? We know where America is standing, and we know what the president has currently said that we will be continuously putting economic sanctions on, but when someone is showing their military power and their force with this long convoy of just military and moving closer and closer to the capital of Ukraine, it's going to cause someone to show their left hand as well in this poker game, right? And I hope that it's not just solely the United States ourselves that has to come in as a savior or a strong ally, because we know the allies or the potential allies that Russia can tap into. And if we have all 3 to 5 of these military powerhouses in themselves, then we possibly could see a World War III happening quicker than we know, regardless of the stats that the president has taken last night. So I think this is one that we're going to literally have to watch second by second, moment for moment, and look for an update when we wake up the next day.
I agree with you. Rashad, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come right back, let's continue to talk about the State of the Union, folks. We're going to talk about voting. What did the president say about voting rights? I told you, remember yesterday, I said, look, if there is no other issue that the president needs to address. I mean, he had all of these things on his bucket list, but I said there has to be a mention of voting rights. I said it. You can go back and take a look at the video. I said it. But what did he say? And more importantly, do you think it's going to stand? Is it going to get the momentum started to restore voting rights in this country? Is it going to get the momentum to break up voter suppression laws that we see have cropped up all over this country in every single state? We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more. So stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now
We have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, next, we've been talking about the State of the Union given by President Joe Biden today. We've been checking in with Culture Crew member Rashad Staten to give us his thoughts and insight about this, about what the president said. And the president covered a lot of issues, but we just wanted to have a few takeaways, some things that I think that are really crucial to where we are right now in this country, where Black people are, where marginalized communities are in this country. Yes, we know about the Ukraine-Russian war. We know that. And we're keeping our eye on that. But let's talk about one of the big domestic issues in this country, which is voting rights. Voter suppression laws are popping up all across this nation. And what we're seeing is an all-out concerted effort to stop, to block, and to redirect the vote. We're seeing gerrymandering strategies taking place in major states that will allow Republicans to gain the votes that they need and to get the power and leadership that they desire. Now, why am I putting it just that in that terms? I generally don't use us versus them terms when I'm talking about things, because it's not just about one person or one group of people. But we are seeing a party that is shifting the conversation. We are seeing a party that is so desirous of power that they're doing all that they can to undermine something that many people are saying is the very foundation of democracy, which is the right to vote. So let's hear what President Biden had to say in his 62-minute, 6,500-word speech from last night, the State of the Union on voting rights. Check this out.
The most fundamental right in America is the right to vote and have it counted. And look, it's under assault. In state after state, new laws have been passed. Not only to suppress the vote, we've been there before, but to subvert the entire election. We can't let this happen. Tonight I call on the Senate to pass the Freedom to Vote Act, pass the John Lewis Act, Voting Rights Act. And while you're at it, pass the Disclose Act so Americans know who's funding our election.
That's just it. That's it, Mr. President. Just pass it. Hey, and while you're at it, that's it. That's all we get for voting rights. 6 weeks ago, folks, y'all remember the president was down in Georgia talking about how important voting rights were. He talked about how he wanted to bust up the filibuster. Remember this? 6 weeks ago, he stood on the campus of HBCU, right down in Georgia, right in Atlanta. I think it was Spelman College, talking about the importance of the vote. Now there is very big concern from voting rights activists from across the country saying the president didn't say enough about voting rights. Here we are in a very, very critical election year. Yesterday, Texas had their election, right? So it comes down to Governor Greg Abbott and Democratic challenger Beto O'Rourke. That kicked off the election season for 2022. But what it doesn't do is ensure that people will have the opportunity to cast a vote. And what we got from the president in that simple 1 minute and 2 or 3 second excerpt was just something that we've all been saying, pass. Mr. President, you didn't use your bully pulpit. You didn't use that great podium that you stood in front of and not just say pass it, because we've always been saying pass it. I mean, it's the right thing to do. But what about really bringing it home, driving it home, really stating the case that if people don't vote, regardless of what happens in this country, that democracy will fail, that the American experiment will fall apart? I think it was a missed opportunity there, folks. I want to check back in with Culture Crew member Rashad. Rashad,
again, it's a missed opportunity, like you said.
Huge missed opportunity. Rashad, what I can't wrap my mind around.
Speak your truth.
Is this is supposed to be the fundamental exercise, and this is the thing. And let me. You worked on a college campus. You've been around young people. I've worked with young people. We've done the work of political activism for years in this city and across the country. One of the big things that we often, and this is what I personally done. Now, look, I tell people civic engagement is everything, right? You know, you have to become civically engaged. You have to get involved with understanding how your government works. You have to know who the sources of power are. You have to know the dynamics of power, all of those things, right?
Correct.
You ran for office locally to be a city council person. So you believe, but it's hard to kind of tout that. It's hard to believe if the president only uses about a minute of an hour and 2 minute speech to push something that is a critical, fundamental, infrastructure-based problem. Like vote.
Yeah, he did exactly what I think his intentions was, to create a soundbite, right? And that's the complexity that has to be addressed and spoken on platforms like this one here, is to how do we hold our elected officials whom got these positions based off of our vote in what they offered as under their campaign and commitments, to hold them accountable to continue to be forward, but and be intentional in what they're actually professing it to the American people. To only use a minute and 7 seconds for what is the backbone and the foundation of American democracy, it's insufficient. It's an insufficient check that will bounce in itself, like Martin Luther King has said. So we have to now hold our elected officials accountable in the space where democracy itself is being questioned through military invasion globally. And we are having these same things happening to us nationally, to only commit out of an hour and 30-minute, State of the Union, only to give less than 10% of that time to the thing that creates the infrastructure of American democracy is insufficient and is unacceptable. One, because it just has a soundbite where it's going to go as a viral sensationalism, but it holds no one accountable from the federal down to the state and the local governments to put in place infrastructure systems and how to protect the American citizen to retain their voting power, but also be informed of how they can hold themselves accountable to be civically engaged. One of the realities of it is this. From voting rights acts to state IDs to long lines to closing up lines to taking away the early voting, much of this can be imposed by our state government, right? So really, the president only this soundbite is just from federal power without any legitimate stepping stones and places put in action that he can use to impose back on our states, right? And then if our states governments and those that have control or some type of influence on our voter execution and exercising our rights, if they are not held accountable by the highest person or leader of this country, how can we as citizens then be obliged to hold them accountable when you didn't tell us the certain steps that we can do to make sure that these things are put in place? It was a soundbite with an insufficient fund that it'll eventually bounce back to, and that's what we need to address here. From him speaking on an HBCU campus, which is of symbolic representation, to now having the State of the Union where everyone is tuned in nationally and globally in the time of a wartime, it just doesn't sit well with me, right? And I'm not content with the idea of what he just said, because now it has to be education going into it, and to see that you use this word and you acknowledge our great ancestor now of John Lewis for the John Lewis Voting Act, seeing that he was the youngest of the big six that helped bring around the Voting Rights Act. It's actually dishonorable to the name and the fight that this man has done for his entire life.
Yeah.
Right. And to do it in a State of the Union, and to go back to what I said earlier, it's also it's disrespectful and honest of the great legacy of Fannie Lou Hamer, that if she wouldn't have used her power to speak on the injustices of voting rights and the systemic oppression of Black folks down in the South, and that gave birth to the States of the Union. Once she got up there and you heard the harsh truth of Black existence down South, that the president then jumped on during a fireside chat, that gave birth to what we have now, the State of the Union. It's to close out Black History Month, and to this man to use the name of John Lewis and only give a minute and 7 seconds. It's one of those ones where we're not going to be okay with just the bare minimum. We no longer can accept that, because it's affecting us every day, and our people need to know how to awaken and to lift up our civic engagement and insights. That it leaves a space of gray area that can only cause more frustration, disruption, and disrupt the democratic process. I think what they did was just impose other things that we wouldn't know how to position ourselves to regain our own power as citizens.
No doubt. Let me just share with you just a little bit of the comments that we've gotten from our watchers. And folks, keep your comments going. I'd love to hear what you got to say on YouTube and Facebook. But Zoe Bing checked in and said, look, the State of the Union was a lackluster performance. I didn't hear anything new. He was regurgitating campaign promises. At this point, we all need more. And also Zoe said, I don't understand why Biden plays it so safe. What does he have to gain or lose? It was a soundbite that in another one of our watchers, Joy the Dancer, said, I agree. It was a soundbite. That's why the Democrats will lose in December. Man, Karina checked in and said, look, Biden appears to have an ignorant confidence that he can win without his base. I doubt he or the Democrats will ever learn to dance with the folks that brought them to the party. I like how you said that, Karina. Dance with the folks that brought you to the party. She also said, it's obvious they do not want to give us the legislation we demand. However, I raised the question if Democrats actually want to remain in power. That's a big question. That's a good question.
Great question. It's a thought-provoking question.
That's a great question. But I don't understand why he plays it so safe on this issue. You know what I'm saying? Here's why I'm pushing on this real hard, Rashad, because for over the past year, this should have been the year of racial justice.
Yes.
This year, if President Biden had really stomped his foot down, put his foot down, and said, we're going to get some stuff done. This 1 year, after the year of 2021 and 2020, this 1 year could have been the game-changing year for racial justice. You got the George Floyd Policing Act. You got the voting rights issues. You got the conversation around, of course, economics and student loans and all of those things, but also more importantly around funding HBCUs. This could have been the year where if he would have just put really pushed hard on just those three things, HBCUs, police funding, and we're going to talk about policing in a minute, and Voting Rights Act, he would have black people. He would have black folks. Black folks would be like, all right, cool. Then your second year, you can push for the other stuff. Now, I get it. COVID-19 certainly disrupted some things. I get that. So you got to put some stuff, you got to put some things in there, which will help. That family tax, child tax credit will help. We know that. But this could have been the year where his administration, for all the bad press, the slow progress that they've been getting, this could have been a year where he could have changed the whole conversation. It now looks like going into his second year, he is just going to be more of the same. instead of being the progressive president that I think a lot of people were looking and expecting to have. But I thought that this could be the year. And if you want to get people to come to the polls, invest in their interests.
Correct.
If you want to get look, you wouldn't have to tell black folks to come to the polls if they got a they got a funding a bill that speaks to police brutality, or if they got a bill that protects their voting rights. You don't have to tell black people that. Black people, we come to the polls anyway. We would come out and drove like, no, that man is doing some work. Let's go to the polls. The Democrats wouldn't have to be scrambling in 2022 because why? You're investing in people's interests.
I agree. One is like, where's the level of uncertainty coming from when you had 2 years leading up into your role in leadership as the president of the United States to hear the cries of the nation from every corner of the United States around the priorities that they're lifting up? Of course, restructuring policing in our communities, both rural and urban populous areas, but also voting rights acts and as well as education. Specifically to our historically black colleges. These have been resounding themes that have propelled our movements of the Black Lives Matter movement and all the other movements that we have, which is only a continuation of the civil rights movements, our Black Power movements and things of that sort, that, you know, the people themselves have did a rallying cry for him to be astute enough to receive what is being said. Why, like you said, have you not set any of those priorities into motion within your first 30 days to your first year to your second year? It's at a standstill of uncertainty, which is why most people at now is at an untrustworthiness of what the Democratic Party is doing for the constituents that have put them into seat. And it's showing us a reality that we can't just take sound bites and political campaign motions, but we got to be very diligent of whom and how and what they're going to strategically do to put in place, right? The GOP, like the comments have said, they have worked on their priorities. The Republican Party has taken a very unfortunate and stark stance, but where are the Democrats, and why is the Democratic Party so uncertain in which stance that they are, that they're playing this buck game of not willing to sacrifice, you know, the loss of certain things to gain the respect of the same people that continuously keep them in office. But it then puts us back as black and brown folks that, hey, if they don't get it right this time, we may have to reevaluate where our voting power goes to. And do we want to continuously get on this same train? Or do we want to look at creating other parties that we know are willing to work with us? Or even go into a space of renegotiation of what the Republican Party could possibly do for us, and strip them of any of those particular conservative views that doesn't actually complement the view of us, right?
And
so
look, and look, let me just throw this part in there, Rashad, as well, brother. This is something that I've learned, you know, going into community organizing. If you invest in the marginalized and the dissatisfied, if you invest in those who are put on the fringes, and your investment brings them into the mainstream, you are essentially helping all.
Yeah,
like people act as if you were to invest in interests that appeal to black people in this country, to the Native American community, to the Latino community, those communities that have often and traditionally been marginalized, that you're cutting other people out. If you help those who are disadvantaged and marginalized, you're helping the rest of the country move forward. And so it's mind-boggling to me that we're still fighting in 2022, even though we show up at the polls, even though we're showing that we can get involved. We serve as the consciousness of this country in a lot of different ways. I'm speaking of as a community, as a people, as a nation. We serve as the consciousness of this country. And yet, our interests, our needs are often overlooked, sidetracked, pushed to the side, put on the back burner. And it's getting more and more frustrating. And it's hard to tell people, go out to vote. Because why? When the next generation asks you, an 18-year-old asks you, why should I vote? It's your duty. How long you been voting? All my life. Did you gain
gotten
anything
from it? Yep. What is there to show?
Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, we're going to talk about one more element of this State of the Union speech, folks. A lot to get to. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
All right, folks, welcome back. We've been talking about the State of the Union, having a conversation about some of the big takeaways from the president's message last night. I've been talking to Culture Crew member Rashad Staten to get his thoughts on this. One of the big, and Rashad, I want to bring you back in. One of the big, and this is a tough one here. But one of the big things that the president did mention yesterday was funding. Not defund, but funding the police. Check this out.
I know what works. Investigating crime prevention and community policing, cops who walk the beat, who know the neighborhood, and who can restore trust and safety. Let's not abandon our streets or choose between safety and equal justice. Let's come together and protect our communities, restore trust, and hold law enforcement accountable. That's why the Justice Department has required body cameras, banned chokeholds, and restricted no-knock warrants for its officers. That's why the American Rescue Plan that you all provided $350 billion that cities, states, and counties can use to hire more police, invest in more proven strategies. Proven strategies like community violence interruption, trusted messengers, breaking the cycle of violence and trauma, and giving young people some hope. We should all agree the answer is not to defund the police, it's to fund the police. Fund them. Fund them. Fund them with resources and training. Resources and training they need to protect our communities. I ask Democrats and Republicans alike to pass my budget and keep our neighborhoods safe. And we'll do everything in my power to crack down on gun trafficking, of ghost guns that you can buy online, assemble at home, no serial numbers, can't be traced. I ask Congress to pass proven measures to reduce gun violence. Pass universal background checks. Why should anyone on the terrorist list be able to purchase a weapon? Why? Why? And folks, ban assault weapons with high-capacity magazines that hold up to 100 rounds. You think the deer are wearing Kevlar vests? Look, repeal the liability shield that makes gun manufacturers the only industry in America that can't be sued. The only one. Imagine had we done that with the tobacco manufacturers. These laws don't infringe on the Second Amendment. They save lives.
I'm just waiting for the part where he talks about police brutality. I'm just waiting on the part where hey, Rashad, I'm just waiting on the part where he talks about the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. That's the part I'm waiting on. Oh, I get it. He never did. He never used that bully pulpit to push a piece of legislation that could change how we do policing in this country.
So that makes two out of two for that one. Missed opportunity.
We 0 for 2 right now, Rashad.
We 0 for 2. I'm gonna say one thing around this, and I'm gonna use this one term. It's a factoid, right? It's a false fact that presents itself as truth and reality. One is what he said as we talked about fund. So let's be clear. When our activists and our leaders are talking about defund the police, they're not simply saying strip the law enforcement agencies of zero operational budgets and things of that sort. They're saying, how can we properly reallocate some of the large funding that our law enforcement agencies receive in comparison to other public agencies and institutions and work and programming to better service those that he said are trusted leaders, are trusted partners, are safe havens to do the impersonable work across our communities to build respectability, to build trustworthiness, to build a sense of identity, and to build a sense of safe and healthier communities, that we don't have to expect our law enforcement personnel, staff, and officers to do the work, to be therapists, counselors, frontline workers, first responders, and things of that sort, when we can empower and use some of that funding to go to the people that have the passion, the commitment, and see people as human and have received the trainings, but also to use some of that funding to go towards intentional training around cultural sensitivity, the humanitarian of Black and brown folks, and to see how they can work and see each other outside of the badge when they are policing our communities. The president himself said we could need officers to continuously to walk the beat. Those that are understanding and aware of history, walk the beat itself is a racial term that correlates back to counting Black bodies on a plantation or in an industrial prison complex and making sure that your body is where it belongs to be, and for you to not move out of your place that they expect you to be. And when you do so, you are now deemed criminal. That term in itself is a buzzword that needs to be pushed out of our vocabulary, and it should not be perpetuated by anyone that is of leadership of this country.
All right, so look, we only got a moment to kind of to reel this in, but I will say the president said something, and to your point, Rashad, the president said this last night: let's not abandon our streets or choose between safety and equal justice. Mr. President, we're not choosing between safety and equal justice. Congress is. Oh, we're not choosing between safety and equal justice. The police are. That's not for us to hear. That needs to be said directly to the institutions that do that. Because the people, we're not telling the police, hey man, no man, treat me differently because I'm Black. No. That's what police departments do. Now, I'm not for, the falsehood. And I think with the way you describe the whole defund the police movement is spot on, Brother Rashad. And I'm not for anything outside of that. But let's have a very realistic conversation. The president is talking about guns, the type of guns. Again, off the mark. The big conversation that has been plaguing this country for the past 2 years has been the treatment of Black people by law enforcement officers. That's the conversation. The State of the Union, you said it, Rashad, biggest platform in politics, right? That's the Super Bowl of politics in a so to speak. That could have been used to say, hey, we need to get back to George Floyd bill. Because guess what? Black people are still being abused and mistreated by police. It's still happening. It hasn't changed. So this is not for us to take on. This is not the burden for us to take on. We're the constituents. This is the burden for those institutions to take on. And I was disappointed that the conversation went way off of the fact that we don't have any code or any codified policy in place to start checking this crazy ass behavior that we've been seeing coming from law enforcement agencies that are designed to protect and serve. We don't have no policy to regulate their behavior. Won't put more money into police departments or hire more police. Then you talking about training them. That the training isn't the problem. It's the thinking. It's the choice to choose between safety and equal justice. Rashad, I gotta let it go right there, brother. But I know you got to jump off, and I appreciate your time with us today. Thank you so much, big brother. And God willing, we'll be talking to you soon.
As always for the culture.
Absolutely. All right, folks, got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's shift gears. I'm going to share with you what the Republican Party is doing to keep discrimination of hair rocking and rolling in this country. We'll be checking in with Culture crew member Nira Muhammad. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Welcome back to the second hour of today's show, folks. The Culture here on the Black Star Network. The first hour, we just kind of broke it down, has a few takeaways from yesterday's State of the Union message that was given by President Joe Biden. And hopefully you found the conversation to be enlightening, but more importantly, it will encourage you to want to stay involved and most importantly, stay informed. So that conversation with Culture crew member Rashad Staten, we appreciate that. But I want to shift gears now because there is another conversation, or rather issue, that's on the table that we've been talking about this for a while. And it looks like on Monday, it has been stalled. This is the effort of getting the Crown Act passed. The Crown Act deals with banning racist hair discrimination that you see in the workplace, that students sometimes get in schools. And so this act, which would help to and give Black people, particularly Black women, an opportunity to express themselves, to be themselves. A young brother like myself, rocking some locks, I won't be discriminated against by any employer or anything like that. This bill would have helped to kind of clear the path for that level of expression to happen. However, this past Monday, the last day of Black History Month, the Crown Act failed to pass the House with a needed 2/3 majority as part of an expedited voting process, with 235 votes for and 188 votes against the bill. You want to know who voted against the bill? All Republicans, not joking. Democrat Representatives Bonnie Watson Coleman of New Jersey, Barbara Lee of California, Gwen Moore of Wisconsin, Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts, and Ilhan Omar of Minnesota, all Black women, said in a statement that they will ensure it gets brought back up for a vote through a longer process that would need only a simple majority to pass. Let me show you what this statement from Representative Bonnie Watson Coleman said as she tweeted this message after the bill failed to pass. She said, quote, "We will bring the Crown Act back and pass it with a simple majority. We won't allow Republican antics to stand in the way of Black people having the right to live as their authentic selves." Had to bring in our dynamic, culture crew member, Nira Muhammad, on this one. Got to bring my wife on this one, y'all. She is an author. She is an educator. You can see her in the classroom. And she's also the host of Queen Talks with Nira Muhammad podcast, heard on all streaming platforms. Nira, thank you again for being with us today. How are you?
I'm tired, but I'm here. I'm here with my big hair, my big inappropriate African hair.
Big inappropriate African hair. When you look at this situation, when we look at how you are, first and foremost, I mean, one of the things that I have learned about, one of your passions is self-expression, right? Being authentic to yourself. You always, and as long as I've known you for the past 400 years that we've known each other, you've always encouraged both girls and women to be themselves authentically, right? Don't hold back. And you yourself, you've been living your best authentic life as well. But to see that your a person's authenticity, to see that their personal expression can be politicized and even thwarted by just by policy and legislation, how does that make you feel? Because I feel like that doesn't happen too much for men, even though Crown Act, of course, cover men's hairstyles as well. But sure. I see a lot of it happening, that level of interruption happening for women, it's particularly Black women.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, growing up, I ran away from my natural curly hair for so long. I never wanted to wear my hair curly. I always wanted it to be straight. I wanted to look like the girls that I went to school with. I know for me growing up, I grew up in Arizona. So my friends were either white or Mexican, and they always had straight hair. So I wanted straight hair as well. But I have like super curly hair, and I hated it. I literally cried and begged my mom, please straighten my hair. Please straighten my hair, to the point where I over straightened it, over processed it. My hair fell out, so many different things. So it took years for me to get to a space where I was actually comfortable just wearing my natural hair. And I think a lot of Black women can attest to that as well. And even Black men can attest to that, where we've always felt like, oh, I need to have my hair this way. I need to look this way because I need to look good for a job. It's the same thing with tattoos. I can't have this tattoo or I can't have this piercing because of my job. And again, like you said, this is geared toward Black people. I know as an educator, the last school that I worked at, there were white teachers, white women who had purple hair, who had pink hair, who had blue hair. And it was seen as cool. It was trendy. But if you see a Black woman wear purple hair or pink hair or blue hair, oh, that's ghetto. That's not professional. You shouldn't show up to work that way. So those double standards are there. They are so prevalent. And I definitely think that we need to address it. I'm actually sitting here feeling like that R in Republican needs to be changed to racist. Because at this point, you're a racist. These policies are racist. To tell us that we can't wear our hair in our natural state is racist. There's no other way to put it. If you're a Republican at this point, you're a racist. I'm not finding a line that divides a racist and a Republican. Where is it?
You know, I mean, and that's a harsh term that the people try to shy away from there, and you know racist. That, you know, but I it's hard to not see your not feel your sentiment and see your point on that, because a person's hair should not be public policy.
It's my hair.
It's your hair. It's coming out of your scalp.
You know, it comes out of my head. What do you want me to do? Well, I want you to go get Madam C.J. Walker's perm, burn out your hair, and look like so that you can look like a white woman. But then white women are going to turn right around.
It's all right.
White women are going to turn right around and they're going to get braids and they're going to get lip fillers and they're going to wear big hoop earrings and they're going to try to talk like Black women. We talked about this even with Aquafina. Every other culture and every other woman, they want to mimic Black women until they don't.
Yeah. And this is the part about, and this is the slippery slope. This is the part that I think that is the most concerning. That if you start to try to politicize and legislate a person's natural features, then where does it stop? You know what I mean? Like, where does it stop? So are you going to start to say, well, look, you can't have tattoos or you can't have piercings or you know what I'm saying? Like,
you know what I do? I personally, Farajii, I equate you talking about my hair. You're equating that to my skin. It's that simple for me. You're equating my hair to just being Black. Period. I don't think there's any other way to sugarcoat it. This is to say, oh, because you have natural curly hair or because you have braids, you can't get a job. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. So you're not going to tell me I'm not a better teacher than half the white women that I know. You're not going to tell me that. Just because my hair is curly. You're not going to tell me that. I don't care. Like, I mean, it's really insane. It's so insensitive. It's one of those topics that it's even hard to talk about because you really get so pissed off with the fact that we have to beg to be ourselves. In 2022, we are begging to just be ourselves. To just show up as my natural, authentic self. I gotta beg for that. I have to get policy written to be myself. Racist. That's it.
And so, you know, when we look at this, by you also being an activist and advocate, you know, what would you say there is some of the best ways that folks can start to fight against this? Like, we've seen this in the halls of Congress where
never pick up a piece of straight hair. What you gonna do? You're gonna fire every last one of us?
Yeah.
What are they gonna do?
Yeah.
We already have shortages thanks to COVID in many fields, whether it's in the medical field, education. Oh my gosh, how many teachers are leaving the classroom? So you're gonna fire? Well, one, I don't have those issues as a teacher, but it's just the thinking behind it. We gotta start. I'm sick of Republicans, Farajii. It's like I'm just genuinely tired of Republicans. There's no other way to put it. I'm tired of them. I want to destroy the Republican Party, to be honest. I want to dismantle. How can we do that? That's what I want to know. How can we dismantle the Republican Party, the racist Republican Party? Because that's what it's turned into.
And it's hard.
That's not the Republican Party that Abraham Lincoln was a part of. That's not.
No, wait a minute. Hold on. You know history like I know history there, and you know that Republican Party that Abraham Lincoln was. That thing been dead.
No, that's what I'm saying, because Democrats started out, that was the South.
Right.
You know, racist, they were Democrats. It's flipped. And that's insane. This is not the original Republican Party. At this point, every single thing damn near that comes out of Republicans' mouth is horse shit. I can't even put it in a prettier way. I'm sick of it. I can't even be nice. I'm so fed up. I'm so emotional about this. I'm turning into Iman at this moment. And you know, I'm more level-headed than that. But when you talk about the fact that I have to teach my daughter, you know, to love her curls. I love to allow my daughter to wear her natural bush because I never want her to be ashamed of her curls the way that I was.
Right.
I hated my hair. I didn't start loving my hair, to be honest, until I was around 30. I'm 32. I've only been wearing my natural, and you can attest that, Farajii. I've only been wearing my natural curly hair for about 2 years now.
Yep. That's real. And it's something to see. If you have, and this is to all of the wonderful sisters that are watching us today, I know many of you have gone through, and I don't know if there's a name, you're better with those words than I am, dear, but I know many women have gone through like a hair evolution, you know what I mean, where you have to think and condition yourself. You have to break away from the traditions of that you grew up under at first, when you went at mom's house or grandma or around auntie, and then you got evolved, and then a better consciousness around your hair started to emerge, to where if you are a woman of 20 in your 20s, your 30s, certainly in your 40s, your expression is totally different than what your mother taught you, or what grandma taught you, or what auntie taught you. You know what I mean? That hair
I think the culture has
took
changed.
place.
I think it's changed so much. I think you see more and more women. I mean, I change up my hairstyle all the time, but I just think back in the 90s, back in the early 2000s, I think it was just more popular to wear your hair straight. It was on the age of when, you know, getting a relaxer was in. Now, I don't really know too many women that even get a relaxer anymore. I never needed a relaxer, even when I wore my hair straight, but I wanted one because I wanted my hair to be so straight. But then even still, like there were years after, you know, wearing my hair straight, I stopped using relaxers and I just flat on my hair. But again, we're damaging ourselves. We're damaging literally just damaging our hair, trying to be someone that we're not. And I'm not saying you can't wear your hair straight, because you guys know you'll probably see me next week with a straight hairdo because I switch it up all the time. But I want to be able to do that. I want to have the right to choose which hairstyle I decide to wear. Some days I want to go straight. Some days I want to go curly. Sometimes I want my braids. Sometimes I want my faux locks. Yeah. I have the right to choose how I look, just the same way white women do. And if they can't get the same hairstyles as we can, I am so sorry, but that does not give you the power to say, well, because I can only wear my hair this way, then you can only wear your hair that way. We're not equal in that way. We're not.
Yeah. Let me go to some of these comments. Pastor Dave checked in and said, our women's beauty is their hair. A black woman's hair in the motherland showed rank as well as beauty. That's my opinion. Yes, blessings. Pastor Dave, thank you so much for your comment. Let me see here. Tiny said, it doesn't stop. It gets worse. I refuse to straighten my hair anymore. I also have been wearing head wraps since 2020. And I double dog dare someone say something to me.
I know that's right, sis. Me too. Me too, sis.
Oh,
because I'm gonna come back with it even bigger. I'm gonna come back with it even bigger. I'm gonna be right at the beauty supply store, coming back with it even bigger. Play with me.
Yeah. So people have been checking in. Also, Rocking with the Truth said, I love my natural, kinky, coily hair, and have been rocking it for 12 plus years.
Amazing.
And Oil Kings checked in and said, white supremacists always give the benefit of the doubt to other white supremacists. Oil King, thank you so much for that. Keep your comments coming. Because one of the big things that I'm seeing around this whole hair issue, I mean, we have a Crown Act here in the state of Maryland. And one of our local legislators, she pushed forth for this legislation to pass, but to still be in 2022 and we're still in this place is really like mind blowing. And
Farajii,
yeah,
didn't we recently see a story about a little black girl? I think she was a mixed girl who had her hair cut by her teacher.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm going to jail because I'm whipping someone's ass. They cut my daughter's hair. Period. Yeah. Same day. You're getting your ass.
I'm going to.
Be prepared for that ass whipping because it's coming.
And look, but see, Wait a minute, but hold on. Now we've been talking about girls, but our son, of course,
Same thing. Curly
has
hair.
this beautiful, like curly fro going on.
Does.
You know what I'm saying? Looking like
Hey,
Miles
you touch
Morales.
you cut my kid's hair, I'm gonna cut you. Cut for cut. What's up? I got my scissors. I'm ready.
But see, look. Now here's the other thing. I mean, we can kind of laugh and joke, but then I do remember there have been cases and stories of, for example, and I forgot this young brother's name, but he was a wrestling. He was a wrestler in school.
Yep.
And he had his locks cut. And there has even been shows that spoke on this issue. I forgot the show that The Game in the new The Game.
Oh yeah, with her daughter with tennis.
Where her daughter
whipping ass.
Right. But see, here's the thing. How do we start to get the conversation from the individual level to an institutional level? Because just as much as you say, no, nobody going to touch my hair, my daughter and my son's hair, the institutions, school systems, employers, all of those things, all of those places, the message has to be sent to them that they do not have the right to infringe upon somebody's natural features.
The fact of the matter is that we have to have this conversation is insane. I mean, natural features. We're not talking about additives. We're talking about someone's natural features. So if you don't like the shape of my nose, what do you think I should do? I'm not K. Michelle. I like my face. I'm not changing it for anyone. That's not happening. It's insane. I'm so sick of living in a world where beauty and hair and skin color is so important. Why is it so important? When did we get away from the heart being important? Or were we ever even there? I don't know, but I can tell you one thing, I'm not for it. And I think that this is an issue that we see more when we send our Black children to predominantly white schools. I don't see this as an issue in predominantly Black schools, especially because I work in predominantly Black schools where, we're always encouraging each other's hair. But I will tell you one thing, I did have an Asian woman come up to me and she in school and she's like, I love your hair, and touched my hair. And I looked at her like she had two heads. So I think we do have to be and I saw it happen the other day. A white woman touched another woman's hair, and I was like, the girl didn't respond. I said, oh, she's not Black, because we would have been like, you never touch a Black woman's hair without permission. Even my students, I had a student, his hair looked I just wanted to touch it, but I asked, can I run my fingers through your hair? Sure, Miss Muhammad, but you asked before you touch someone anywhere on their body, but to touch my hair without my permission, that's offensive. I am not one of those Black women that are sitting inside of a cage where you get to come around and look at me and touch me. I'm not an animal in the zoo. You will not touch me at all.
Like you want to touch somebody like an animal's mane or something.
I'm not it's offensive. You don't do that.
Yeah.
So sometimes we do have to say that to white people. Like, you can't just touch someone's hair, or Asian, because the Asian one that did to me. Yeah. I had to let her know, no, ma'am, don't touch my hair.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. And I think that if we just getting out of Black History Month, we're now in Women's History Month. You talked a little bit about this issue, like in the school setting, but how do you start to cultivate a girl's love for her hair? Because girls are being exposed. They're being exposed to mass media. They're being exposed to family and friends that they might overhear, talking about hair. The girls, of course, girls are standing in the bathroom looking up at their mom, their sister, their auntie, their grandma when they're, getting themselves prepared. How do you start to really develop a love of a girl's natural hair? Where does that start, you think?
So with my Queens in Training, which is a sorority that I started for 4th and 5th grade girls, one of the things that we did was I played a video about Black women and their hair. I believe the AKAs put this video together. I'm not sure, but I believe it was the AKAs. And they loved it. We watched the video. It had great music. It had all these styles. And we were just like discussing as we were watching it. Oh, I love that style. Oh, I wear that style. And then we just had a circle where we talked about our hair. They shared their experiences. They've shared negative opinions, negative comments that have been said about their hair, and also positive things. We took a moment to uplift one another. And then on the flip side of that, as a mom, I am always telling my daughter how beautiful her hair is. I am always making sure that I do her hair and express to her the importance of having her hair done and just taking very good care of it. And you already know my daughter is a straight diva. When I go to put her shirt on in the morning after doing her hair, she's like, don't mess up my hair. And I'm like, I got you, sis. But I'm instilling that in her. She loves her hair. I'm like, look at your girl, look at your curls. Yes, your hair is so thick and beautiful and full. It's the language as well. What type of language do we use when we talk to our children about their hair? How do we describe it? Are we saying your hair is so nappy? I would never say that. It's beautiful, it's thick, it's full. What words are we using? So I think that's very, very important. Up in our vocabulary, instilling that self-love in our children, it starts at home. So that when she goes out into the public, the moment someone says something negative about her hair, she's gonna look at them like they lost their mind, and she's gonna correct them. I know you're not talking about my hair, not this beautiful God-given hair.
Mm-hmm.
You lost your mind,
right?
But that starts at home.
Yeah. I mean, we one of the things of course, like I'm so happy to see that there are like books. Of course, we can kind of go back to the great
we have so many of those hair love books.
Hair love books.
Gosh. Hair love. We have Crown. Actually, is a book called Crown. We have about 5. I know in our personal library, we had at least like 6 books. I have Cool Cuts for boys. It goes through just all these different hairstyles for Black boys. That same exact author. I know her name is Michelle something. I can't think of right now. But she has a book called Cool Cuts, and then she has another one for girls. And every page, and it just shows Black children, different skin tones, different hairstyles. And it's just really, really fun, really, really cool. I've actually read them on Booking with Mommy and Nigel on YouTube. So yeah, if you want to read the book, my son and I read them on our show, Booking with Mommy and Nigel. So you guys can check out Cool Cuts. And it's just a really great book to get him excited and get your kids excited about that representation and seeing themselves. So I love that you said that, Farajii. Even shows like the Proud Family, all the characters in the Proud Family have different hairstyles. They are showing you Black excellence, showing you that Black children are colorful. We are so different. Some of the kids have braids. Some of them have locks. You know, they wear just different styles. So that representation is so very important, and you have to start early.
Absolutely. And you're talking about the author, Michelle Renee Rose. She
yes,
wrote the book.
I couldn't think of it for a moment.
Right?
Thank you.
It's all good. Cool Cuts.
I have so
cool
many books
curls.
in my head, I can't always remember.
It's cool. It's fine. But Cool Cuts and Cool Curls, the book for hair for Black boys and Black girls. Let me just share with you. Tiny's checked in and said, this white guy I worked with touched my daughter's afro when she came to my job to see me. And man, I thought I was going to have to pull her off of him. I stepped in and was like, don't touch her hair. DeAndre checked in and said, look, they view their approach on Black hair as petting you or, oh, your hair is so exotic, etc. Yeah,
that's how I felt, Farajii. I felt like I was a dog when she touched my hair. I'm like, am I a dog?
Right, absolutely.
Petting me like I'm a dog. It was so offensive. She wasn't trying to be offensive, but it was offensive.
Yeah. And DeAndre also said they don't think they have to ask to touch your hair, let alone your hair. They ask to touch your person, let alone your hair. Facts, Nira. We definitely have to do away with that slave discriminatory term of calling our people's hair nappy. Absolutely. And I think you know, you and I, we always talk about this, the power of language. Language is everything when you're trying to change the culture or change the attitudes and thinking of people. So language is critical. It's absolutely pivotal that we use different terms. Instead of saying nappy, we should say natural. Instead of saying something is rough.
Or you could say coily. You could even say coily. Your curls are so coily.
You know what I'm saying? Instead of we using saying kinky, and some of our people, we embrace the term kinky, but you just say, you know what I mean? Your hair is just different. Everybody's hair texture is different. It's fine. It's all good. But guess what? It's still beautiful.
Listen, I'm going to throw it out there.
Go ahead.
Anyone who is complaining about having, thicker hair, embrace it. Because I can tell you one thing, having thinner hair can be a nuisance. Like so much, love your hair. It is beautiful. Like you are beautiful. And that goes to the brothers as well, because brothers go through it too. Brothers like to do their different styles too. You guys do your cool cuts. You guys wear your locks. You guys wear, long up top and cut on the sides. I mean, even your styles, sometimes we put the stars in Nigel's hair, all of those things. So this is not just about women, but this is as much about Black men and boys as it is about Black girls and women.
There it is. Folks, we got to take a quick pause, and Devonta's said, I'm so glad that you all are talking about our hair. You're absolutely welcome. Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's talk about Girl Scouts. I know that's a favorite thing for you, Nira, Girl Scout cookies. But do you know that Girl Scouts are now being berated? There are now people that are complaining about Girl Scout cookies. I'll tell you why. And later, we'll just talk about what Lauren London had to say since the death of her love of her life, Nipsey Hussle, and some of the big lessons she learned. So stay with us. A lot coming at you on the final 30 of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks. Well, it is that time of year where you get the opportunity to get some of your favorite treats from the little girls in those uniforms. Are they still green and brown? And, well, you know what I'm talking about. The little girls called the Girl Scouts. Apparently, folks, this time of year brings the Girl Scouts out. And as they do each and every year, it's an opportunity for them to raise funds for various programs and activities to keep certain Girl Scout camps going. Now, the problem is that Girl Scouts have now become the target of berating, and harassment. Children as young as 5 years old are being harassed about their cookies. Now, what can possibly be said about the cookies? The fact that the cookies are unhealthy and that the funding from cookie sales is actually funding abortions, which is a lie. We want to continue to have this conversation with Culture Crew member Nira Muhammad, host of Queen Talks with Nira on all streaming platforms. Nira, I want to really kind of just share with you just a little bit around this story because I find it to be absolutely interesting that Girl Scouts, which is known for its camaraderie, its sisterhood, its, of course, for those who have been a part of the Girl Scouts, they know that you can learn all types of skills and all of those things. But the big thing about them is the cookies, the cookie. They love them cookies, and we can do that. However, in a recent post about the cookie seller harassment, this has gone viral on social media. People are seeing that there are a number, and I'm saying Girl Scout parents are saying that there are a number of people who are coming up to their little daughters, to their nieces, to their granddaughters, and harassing them about the cookies. The big thing is, of course, are the cookies healthy?
Who cares? Are the Takis that kids eat every day for breakfast healthy? Absolutely not. But we're not talking about that. Or the honey buns I see kids coming here with every day, or gummy worms or gummy bears and all the other trash that these kids are eating for breakfast. But you're gonna take away my Girl Scout cookies? Yep.
Girl Scout cookies. A lot of people, there have been a number of comments about weight and diets, and a lot of adults. Check this out. This is coming from adults, not from other children. This is coming from adults that are killing the self-esteem of these little girls simply trying to sell cookies. This is the sad part about this. Let me just tell you the sad part. It's like going up to a child's lemonade stand and be like, you know what? This is terrible.
You put too much sugar in this.
You
lemonade.
Put too much sugar.
I got a question. So is Mars livable yet? Can I go to Mars at this point? Because I'm sick of Earth. I'm sorry. Can we go to Mars yet? Because Earth is just ghetto. Can we just? The moment that they started coming after little girls for selling Girl Scout cookies, something is wrong with the world. I don't like it. I can't eat Girl Scout cookies because they're not gluten-free. I think they have one gluten-free cookie, but there's a new brand of gluten-free cookies that is like a mimic of Girl Scout cookies. Okay. That's how big Girl Scout cookies is, though, that they had to make a whole brand.
The Samoas. You talking about the Samoas?
Huh?
The Samoa cookies? Which ones?
I like the fudge cookies.
Oh, the fudge cookies.
I like the Thin Mints and I like the birthday cake ones.
Yeah, I said Samoas. Those samosas.
Thank you, those nasty. The only one I hated was the one with the coconuts because I hate coconuts.
Yeah, I'm not a coconut fan.
But any other Girl Scout cookie, give it to me. And come on, people talking about you're overweight. You never heard the word moderation?
Yeah.
You can't eat. So you're telling me you never eat sweets. You don't go to the ice cream parlor. You don't eat pizza. You haven't had a burger. Sit down. People are so annoying.
And that's so funny because how many times have you gone up to the ice cream truck and be like, this shit is unhealthy?
Let me get some of those.
How many times? How many times do you hear the ice cream man outside the door with the little bell? And you talking to you? Wait a minute, hold on, kids, hold up.
How many adults do we see in the McDonald's line still? I'm surprised McDonald's is still around. How? Because after you turn 25, it messes your stomach up. One bite and you on the toilet. Explain yourself, over 25-year-olds.
Hey, look.
How y'all eating McDonald's still?
Apparently. This is a real problem. McCole checked in and said, quote, people are harassing the girls selling Girl Scout cookies. That is foul. That is beyond foul. And I agree with him. You know what I'm saying? Like, here's the thing. And this is, you and I often have this conversation, right? People's diets are changing. People preferences are changing, right? And on the flip side, it's absolutely insane that adults will go off on children about something that children cannot change. Children don't make the cookies. They're just simply selling them so they can get their little...
They could just walk their need to be on a diet tail right on by, mind their business.
And you know what's funny, though, about that deal? You know what's funny about that? most of the time I see Girl Scouts selling Girl Scout cookies in front of stores, supermarkets, grocery stores.
Exactly.
So you don't have to buy the cookies. You don't have to buy the cookies. It's like if you don't want to watch this show, you don't have to watch. I never forget. I was on the air with Kathy Hughes, Miss Kathy Hughes, the great Kathy Hughes, and we were doing this radio show together. And people would she said people would call her up, and she was talking about how she used to do radio with her and Dick Gregory back in Washington, D.C. years ago. And she said, Farajii, people would call up and say they don't like the show. They don't like what we're talking about. And she said, you know what I would tell them? Turn the station. You don't have to listen.
I feel like that 100%.
If you don't like,
I get tired of people complaining about stuff that they don't have to be a part of.
You don't have to participate. You don't have to indulge. It's just that simple. Now, here's the flip side. Here's the flip side on this, dear. Here's the flip side, and I wanted to get your take on this. The flip side of this is that if the Girl Scouts are concerned about harassment, how about starting making some cookies a little bit that speaks to the health, the dietary preferences of people, because everybody doesn't eat the same.
But they already did. They do have that already. They just sell
under the Girl Scout banner.
No,
not like another company.
No, under Girl Scout, they do sell Girl Scout cookies. One of my students sells Girl Scout cookies, but they always sold out of the gluten-free cookies.
Right.
I was like, see, everybody wants the gluten-free cookies. Everybody wants crap on gluten-free. But those cookies sold out fast. So Girl Scouts, they do have vegan cookies, and they do have gluten-free cookies. They have options. People are just stupid.
That's okay. Okay.
No way to put it. You are an idiot to go and harass a 5-year-old about a cookie that you don't want to buy. Walk your fat ass on by and go in the market and get you a piece of celery and keep it moving. I want my cookies. Mind your business.
Right. Grace checked in on our page and said, actually, how many times do people read the label for sodium and sugar content? Nope. Buy it because they like to eat it.
Thank you. Soy. How much soy do we have in food? How much high fructose corn syrup are you giving to your kids?
Yeah.
I mean, people gotta stop playing, man. You may probably buy the Simply Heinz ketchup like we buy.
Right.
Some of your bread.
Let me tell you,
if you're eating Wonder Bread, then you're eating high fructose corn syrup in your bread. What do you need high fructose corn syrup in your bread for?
Yeah. I'm an avid label reader. I read labels for everything, folks. We don't do high fructose corn syrup.
Nope.
We cut out soy. Label read. We try to get as natural. And look, let me just say this, and I know we got a lot of healthy people that are watching. Every single thing that you eat won't always meet the standard of your health needs.
Right.
You can eat like Tom Brady. And guess what? If you get a little extra sodium here, a little extra sugar there, I mean, it's not going to kill your body.
It's in moderation.
But it is in moderation. I'm in total agreement about that. I'm in total agreement that and I think it speaks more not just to the cookie itself, but to the attitude and to the time that we're living in, dear, where you're seeing people feeling like it's in their place to go up to a child and to traumatize a child. Yeah. I mean, that's traumatizing when you really think about it. Here, if our daughter is selling some cookies and she's with her troop leader, and then you have somebody walking up to her, badgering her and berating her, and
they're gonna get a 2-piece. They're gonna get a 2-piece.
And then you ain't talking chicken.
I promise.
You about to get this. You about to get this chicken with them cookies, sir.
I'm only violent when it comes to my kids. Let me just make that. I'm not a violent person, y'all. I'm only 4'11", but when it comes to my babies, I don't play.
Yeah,
I don't play when it comes to my babies.
Look, I don't play around. I don't understand how adults can get into a space with children to go back and forth with children. I don't argue with children.
Something is really wrong with you as an adult to go up to a kid. And that's why, so I am not making fun of anyone's weight. I think that people are beautiful no matter what weight they are. I have celiac disease, so I struggle with weight. 2020, I was 20 pounds heavier than when I am now, and my weight just fluctuates every year, and I can't control it as much as I would like to. I'm trying to. So I would never make fun of a person's weight. I am only coming at people who are coming at kids, because that just shows me that you just have like no boundaries. You just have no care in the world to come at a kid for trying to do something cool or just to be out in the community, serves in the community. I love Girl Scout cookies. When I see them, I go and support, even if I can't eat the cookies. I've given them to my students as a treat at the end of the day. So I love to support Girl Scout cookies. Come my way. If you're in Baltimore, come on. I want the cookies. Bring them to me. Hubby just cashed at me today, so I got y'all.
Right. So what do we take from this? Because I feel like there has to be some lesson from this. I mean, or should we tell
Stop
parents?
Messing with kids.
Okay.
You weirdo. You're a weirdo to go up to a kid and pick on them. You choose your diet. You need to learn self-discipline. Download the app, NOM, or whatever it's called, NOOM, whatever, Noom, whatever it's called. Do whatever you have to do to make sure that you're living your life authentically to yourself. You're only putting in your body what you want to have in there. And don't worry about other people. That's not for you to say. Mind your mother effing business. Is that something?
Yeah, I think so. And just chill out, man. It's only a cookie.
It's weird.
You know what I mean? You're crying over spilled
weird to
milk.
Me?
Yeah.
Weird. Oh, weird.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's talk about some life lessons that we can learn from someone who has lost a loved one. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, as we close out today's show, I thought that it was appropriate that we at least have a conversation about love, loss, and finding yourself when things in your life seem to be going off track. These are some of the big things that have affected actress and entrepreneur Lauren London after she lost her longtime partner, Nipsey Hussle, tragically back in 2019. If you remember the story of Nipsey, he has been a hip hop artist. He was a businessman. I mean, he owned a lot of great shops and just doing a lot of entrepreneurial ventures. And unfortunately, back in 2019, he was killed as a result of gun violence. Now, his death just shook the hip hop community and all of us across the country. And it's amazing that it's been really 3 years since he was gunned down in the parking lot of his store, The Marathon, located right there in South Los Angeles. Now, to Lauren, she talks about how she has been dealing with the grief of losing Nipsey. She said on a recent podcast, when she was asked how it feels to have a plan for your life and then have that picture you imagined torn apart, she said, quote, "It is the ultimate test of surrender, letting it go and letting God now move in your life. I think for me, I had this idea. We had the kids, we had a family, but the head of the household is not here anymore. Does that mean I have no purpose here anymore? No, I still have a purpose. I still have a mission. And now I have to tap into myself. I had to surrender my idea of what I thought my life should be and give my children the opportunity for a happy life." I want to bring in Nira Muhammad as we have this final conversation. Dear, when we think about the grief that Lauren London had to work, and she's still grieving. She's still grieving because
it's a forever thing.
It's a forever thing, right? Nipsey Hussle is also, Nipsey he shot it out in all your big songs. Of course, people talk about him. It's like you're not going to forget. And I'm sure there won't be a time where she won't be reminded of how wonderful he was or what type of man that he was and all of those things.
And she'll see him through her son every single day. They have a son together.
Right. But to that point that she made about having a purpose, that she had to surrender this idea of what her life should be. And you and I've talked about this. Like sometimes your life can go, you think your life will be in a certain place, and you know people like this, and I know people who say, okay, by this age I want this, by this age I want that.
Yeah.
And then those things don't happen. And then it's a hard place when the person you wanted to spend your life with is not there. It's a hard pill to swallow when you realize that your life is not going the way you imagine, and you have to reorient yourself to finding some balance. What are your thoughts around that?
I think it's really beautiful, for one, that Lauren had the courage to really talk about it, because we really don't get to hear about the other side of that grief. So to hear Lauren talk about how she had to surrender what she thought her life was supposed to be like, that was real. That really hit home. And I want to say, there's nothing wrong with having a plan for your life. You should have a plan for your life. You should have expectations for your life. I think the big difference is getting out of saying, by the age of, I need to have this done, instead of just making it a little bit more loose. During my lifetime, I want to accomplish this. I don't want to get into the habit of saying, by the age of 32, I need to have XYZ, because then the moment that you don't live up to that expectation, now you're looking at yourself as you're a failure. So instead of saying, I want to accomplish this by a certain age, say, I want to accomplish this in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Because this, like the black woman from Black Panther, what was she, in her 80s? She had always wanted to be an actress, and it wasn't until her 80s that she got a breakout role in Black Panther. So You're never too old to live up to your potential. You're never too old to live up to your purpose. We have to get out of putting a date stamp on something when we don't have control. We really don't.
And I love how you said that, because I remember one of my longtime mentors taught me, when you deliver any type of speech, a sermon, that you can certainly have notes. But he told me this way. He said, you can have your notes on paper, but he said, always leave inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
Always leave a space for inspiration. Don't have your bullet points so tight that God can't inspire you or can't compel you to say certain things, right? So he said, always, and I never forgot about that. He said, I literally leave a space on the paper for God's inspiration. And I feel like that's the same way, just listening to you, that your life there has to be some spaces in your life for inspiration.
It does.
For changes, right? Because like you and I, we both have experienced great grief. You know what I mean? We've experienced grief. And when you experience grief, man, it feels like your balance is off, your mind is off, your spirit has been shaken. And it really does something to you. But a lot of times people, we don't like to feel all of the emotions that grief comes with.
The stages,
right? Or we try to just gloss over, oh, I'm all right, I'm good. After a traumatic moment, a very traumatic, game-changing, life-altering moment, we just, oh, no, I'm fine.
Nope, I'm good. I'm fine. We try to skip
and
over it.
You're walking, you're talking, you're interacting, but here and here, you're destroyed. You're broken down.
Yep. Or it just may take time. I remember I actually wrote this in a poem when I about finally falling into depression, because I was like, I'm a Black woman. I can't be depressed. I'm a strong Black woman. But I remember one of the things, the metaphor that I used in my poem was that my life became like a glass bottle with a corkscrew on it. And I was just putting so much traumatic shit inside of that bottle that it got so full that the corkscrew just popped off and everything came spilling out. And that's how we live. We try so hard to sweep stuff under the rug, to pretend that things don't faze us. And then one day that cork is going to pop off and all hell is going to break loose. And you're going to be like, what? I'm going through this. I need therapy. And it's real.
Yeah.
Because we set unrealistic expectations for ourselves.
Yeah. How important is therapy? Do you think it?
Woo,
I mean, no,
and
I'm serious.
You know what? I will say, do not get therapy because you're depressed. Get a therapist, period. Don't be reactive, be proactive. That's where I stand on therapy. Everybody should go see a therapist at some point in their lives. Everybody. I don't care who you are. Go see a therapist. I don't care if you do it periodically. I don't care if you only see a therapist once a month. Go see a therapist, because there's nothing like talking to a professional who can give you an unbiased opinion. I don't want to hear, I got my pastor. Your pastor knows you. I don't want to hear, I got my grandma. Your grandma knows you. I got my homegirls. Your homegirls know you. They are going to side with you 9 times out of 10. They will enable you. Your therapist will not. My therapist was hardcore in my face. And of course, that therapist that, you find a therapist that matches what you need. Some people need a hardcore therapist. Some people need a therapist that might hold their hand a little bit more. I had a therapist that gave it to me straight, and that was exactly what I needed. So you find a therapist that fits your individual needs, but get a therapist. Be proactive with your life, with your mental health. Because we live in a world, as we talked about before, we are bombarded by so much stuff from social media, from these wars, from worrying about if we can wear our real hair. We're bombarded by so much stuff. We need an outlet. A healthy outlet, someone to talk to that knows what they're talking about. It is very important. I'm a huge advocate for therapy.
So am I. Rocking with the Truth said, when my mom passed, I kept saying I was fine. I took another week off work, went back Monday morning to sit at my desk and have a heart attack. God was telling me to slow down.
Slow down. Our body talks to us. So
let me just and
we ignore it.
Dear, when you just said that, and it made me think about when we don't take the time, because somewhere along the growth somewhere along our journey in life, someone told us that we were weak to show our emotions. And I think, we talk about this, of course, with men and Black men, but I think the same thing goes for women as well, Black women. Somewhere along the line, in all of this, in this culture that we are in, right? Everybody is talking about, as much as we talk about self-care, mental health days, and all of those things, somewhere along the line, the thought that we can't express our emotions, the thought that we shouldn't talk about our pain is still present in each and every one of us.
You know why? We've been in survival mode from the moment we touched this land.
Yeah.
When you're in survival mode, you're trying to stay alive. You're not thinking about your emotions. You're trying to stay alive. We are operating in survival mode. This is not natural. But what can you expect from a people who have to beg to show up as their authentic selves? How can we be anything but? We can't even wear our hair. We're begging to wear our natural hair in 2022, but you expect us to be what? Happy, healthy? How can we be? We're in survival mode. From the day that the first breath of air that we take as Black people on this planet, we're in survival mode. Period. I don't care where you are. I don't care if you're in Africa. I don't care if you're in America. I don't care if you're in Europe. I don't care where you are. We are in survival mode as Black people, period.
And we carry that pain
all day.
We carry that pain all day, and we carry it consciously and subconsciously.
Exactly. That's why I rebuke being called a strong Black woman. Don't ever call me that, because that's your way of telling me that I can lie down and take pain. No, I cannot. No, I can't. I'm a woman. I'm vulnerable. Treat me like a white woman. I'm blonde. I want to be weak like her. I want to be mild like her. I want to be dainty like her. I want someone to open my car doors like her. I don't want to be the strong Black woman that has to bear the brunt of everybody and all of society, including Black men. No longer. No more.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I think to that point, you know, what Lauren was mentioning about, you know, just being open to change.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And just being open that things will happen in your life. You know, there's nobody that's living that doesn't have a problem.
Nope.
We all got problems. I mean, seriously, let's keep it real. I know.
No,
and
that's
I know
real.
when
White,
I hate
Black,
when people,
Asian, Indian, big, small,
nobody,
child,
everybody
adult,
has a problem.
Everybody.
And look, I hate when people say, I ain't got no problems. You're lying to yourself, therefore you're lying to me.
Yeah.
And I can't trust nothing else that you say coming out after that statement.
Yeah.
Because we all got problems. We're all trying to figure life out, right?
Yeah, like
and when life doesn't go.
When I hear people talk about depression now, they talk about it as if it's like an anomaly. Like we're all gonna go through depression at some point in our lives.
Yeah,
why do we act like it's isolated? Like only certain people go through depression. You're human. You live in America. You live on this earth. You're gonna go through depression at some point. It's that simple. Stop making it like it's this rare disease. It's not.
And you know what? That's a whole different conversation. I think we really do need to have that.
We
that
do. We gotta have mental health.
And having a full understanding that, you know, mental health is a priority, and it has to be a priority not only for the community, it has to be a priority within our culture. But I love the fact that just some of the big points that you brought up today, talking about, you know, dealing with grief, dealing with therapy, very, very timely. Dear, I got to let you go, but I appreciate you. Thank you so much for checking in today, having great conversations. I thank you so much. I see you. And someone said on the chat, it's been a long time since they've seen a real chalkboard.
Listen, I actually use that chalkboard too, but I have a smart board too. So yeah, I'm fancy over here. I got the big, but I'm old school. Technology will shut down on you, man. It will shut down on you. I keep it old school. I got my chalk and everything.
There you go. Nira Muhammad, who is an author, she's an activist, and she's host of Queen Talks with Nira. Queen Talks with Nira Muhammad. You can find it on all of the podcast platforms. Thank you, Nira. Thank you, dear, for checking in tonight.
Always.
We appreciate you. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me. Man, oh man, what a great show. Great conversations. And again, folks, we are 30 days in. We are starting on the new day for the next 30 days. And I truly, truly appreciate each and every one of you for supporting us here on The Culture each and every day. Your comments, your insights, just tuning in. And of course, we need your financial support. So make sure you do your due diligence. If you've been enjoying what you've been hearing all these past 30 days, this past week, all today, then show your support. You can go to Black Star Network, download the app for free, and you can support the Black Star Network as a Black-owned media outlet. This is amazing. We are on to something absolutely magical. It's something phenomenal right now with Black Star Network, and we need your support. All of the programs that come on every day, every week, of course, Big Brother Roland Martin, we're doing it. We're absolutely doing it. However, we can't do it. We won't do it without your support. So make sure you show your support. All right, folks, tomorrow I got a fantastic lineup of guests and folks that are going to be joining us. We're going to bring some new faces and some new voices. So make sure y'all tune in tomorrow. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Peace and love, family. Thank you for tuning in.